further ado, I want to bring forward Jeffrey Gold. Please come forward, Mr. Give your hand to Jeffrey Gold. Every year before the deadline, which is typically March 1st, this year it's March 18th, Mr. Gold comes here with his team to Elmont. He's here tonight with Leanna. Leanna has a 1-year-old baby home. She left her baby with her husband to come here to Elmont. Over the years, they developed a relationship with this great community, and they just want to help this community in filing accurate property tax grievances, okay? So without further ado, I'm gonna have Jeffrey Gold explain to you what that is and why it's important. I think every homeowner, even if not your homeowner, even if you rent, tell the homeowner or the parent or the relative, please file the grievance. Our assessment system is broken, and we must file an assessment every year, a grievance every year, in order to not incur higher property taxes. Without further ado, Mr. Jeffrey Gold, thank you.
Thanks, folks. Hopefully you can all hear me. I'm Jeff Gold. I'm a former member of the Nassau County Board of Assessors and a former member of the Assessment Review Commission. The Nassau County Board of Assessors, or now the Department of Assessment, sets your assessment. The Board of the Assessment Review Commission is the group that hears your grievance. So I've been on both sides of the coin. I'm now an attorney in private practice. Actually, I was in private practice then. I have filed thousands of grievances personally. I've also started, and I did it because I wanted more time with my family and friends, and who would have thought that would backfire on me, a Facebook page. And if you aren't a member of the page, you should join the page, because through that page, we will give you everything you need on how to file your assessment grievance. And I say assessment grievance because it's not tax grievance. You don't grieve your taxes, you grieve your assessment, the valuation put on your home by the county. As Carrier indicated, I have been in this community now at least 10 years, and I've done private sessions with Carrier, brought in my staff to help. And the first time I was here, there were actually $200,000 homes in Elmont. And we're not finding them anymore. The problem is the county is still assessing homes in Elmont at $300,000 and $400,000, and those homes have continued to go up, and it's very difficult to find comparables, right? But I'm going to explain to you how we go about doing it. The county wants you to file online, okay? That's no issue now. They're very clear. They want you to file online. If there are people who want to file on paper, they can still do so, but it's discouraged, and frankly, I don't think it's the most effective way to do it. We will show you how to print out the forms, or you can get those forms from Carrier's office, legislative office. He can print them out for you there. Okay, anyhow, if you're on Facebook, please join the group Nassau Grieve Your Tax Assessment Free. We now have 38,300 members. That is roughly 10% of all county homeowners. But we don't close the group. The group is open for anybody who wants to come in and get help, even without joining. So we estimate that we're giving help to about 60,000 to 65,000 members based on the involvement. We had 250,000 viewers on the Facebook page last 30 days. That's probably more than any other group in Nassau County. We help everybody. You come to the group, you have a question, you post your question, we answer it. I have a great team that works with me. We've answered easily 1,000 questions in the past month. Now, when you come to the group, there's a group of files, or you can go over here and just type the word instructions into the group. The instructions come up. And when you click on the instructions right here, I start, and there are rules in the group, about how to post questions, about how to respect others. But we give you, how to file your grievance. It's all there step by step. And the first thing you would do is you go to the Arrow page. Arrow is Assessment Review Online. Okay, that's the county webpage. And you come to this page, we give you the link. So you start with my group, and you go to the link, or you can come right here, nassaucounty.ny.gov, ARC Web Citizen /homepage. You come here, and you go to register with ARC. And this is a very simple form. Everybody can fill this form out. You go, just all you need is your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, and a password. Username and password. And, look, people are not breaking into your computers and grieving your assessments. Don't be difficult. Put something you remember. jgold123456 works just great, okay? If somebody wants to break in and grieve my assessment, go ahead, all right? So just keep it simple. Some of our clients at the firm have 40 different characters, and if you type any one wrong, you're not gonna get into your grievance. So just keep it simple. Once you register, you go back, you automatically go back in, and you go to file an appeal using the sales locator. Now, the biggest thing we hear this year from the people that don't read the instructions is that they can't find comparables that are lower than the assessed value of their home. You've all gotten your letter from the county, some of you are holding it up, and it gives a valuation on your home that to you seems irrationally low, correct? Well, you know why that is? That is because the current county executive and the prior county executive, no one escapes blame here, has froze the rolls for the last 4 years. That means that if your home was assessed for $400,000 in 2021, it is assessed for $400,000 in 2024. And of course, in 2020, prices went up. And in 2021, prices went up. And in 2022, prices went up. So you should be currently assessed for roughly 30% to 40% of what you could sell your home for. What I have done is I've done the calculations. I've looked at several hundred homes. Many of you are members of my group, right? And you know how in October and November, I'm playing the game, guess what this house sells for? And I'm putting up those houses. Well, it's not just a game. When I put up a house and I want to see what it sells for, I also check to see what it's assessed for. The difference between what the home can sell for and the difference of what it's assessed creates what's called a level of assessment. While the county executive lies to you on the website and says the level of assessment is 0.10, which means, 0.010. So, which means that if you have a $500,000 home, you think you're assessed at $500 and that's fair? No. If you have a $500,000 home, you are assessed, the county is assessing you at roughly $725,000. If your assessment's $500,000, you should be looking for comparables under $725,000 to $735,000. If you find properties that are lower than that, you should be able to get a reduction at ARC. I have calculated, now I'm not a computer, but I've calculated that this year's level of assessment will be 0.00068 or possibly 0.00067. So roughly 2/3. What you do to calculate what you should be assessed at, you take your assessed value and you multiply it by 1,450. So if you're assessed at 500, multiply that by 1,450. That translates into a 0.00068 level of assessment. Technically, the number is 1,470. But if you're only finding homes that are 1,400, 735, you're not going to get a reduction because it's a big difference. So we want to give you a little buffer, and that's why I say 1,450. Multiply. The first thing you do.
Now we have lawyers here talking, right?
Okay.
And we're talking our lawyer terms, and sometimes it's always advisable to use layman terms.
Okay.
So I'm a homeowner. I bought my house for $500,000, and I'm trying to figure out this year in the application what level of assessment to put down. I just bought my home at $500,000.
They no longer let you fill in your level of assessment. Okay, it's all done by ARC automatically. But if you don't file your grievance, then you don't get the lower level of assessment. You get grieved, you get assessed at the 0.0, thank you, Carrie. You get assessed at the 0.0010. So if you just file your grievance with nothing else on it, no comparables or anything, and I don't recommend that, you still are going to get the benefit of the lower level of assessment. So it's important to file. There's only one guarantee. If you don't file, you're going to pay more next year than you would if you did file and get a reduction. So
basically we're talking about an application. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jess. You can do this on your own, but I just want to help some people in the audience. If In the application, you're telling Nassau County, hey, look, my property's not valued at this, it's really this value, and here are my comparables. Here are the homes in my area that I found that are similar to my property.
Right,
Yes.
but we're not looking for homes at your assessed value. We're looking at homes that are 1,450 or less than your assessed value. So if you've got a $500,000 home, if you've got a $500,000 assessment, and you can find homes less than $725,000, you should be able to get a reduction by filing your grievance. But you have to file the grievance, otherwise you're gonna still be at 500, and that's gonna mean you're overassessed, okay? So, what we did is, once we register you, we then come to this page, which is, Leanna, can you just show them how you got here? Arrow home, we want to file an appeal using the sales locator. Once you log in, if you don't file the appeal using the sales locator, it doesn't generate comps for you, okay? We want to generate the comps. Okay, and we're now putting in somebody's password and username and password. Who's this? Who is CBSAN? Okay, so we're going to do your home right now. Okay, and we're actually going to file it for you. This is exactly what we would do when we do this for clients. We're going to put you in and we're going to see how it goes. Oh, your username isn't working. Oh, now we got another one. We got a different person. Can you just go to the back and give her your password again, because we're going to try to get more than one in. Okay, so we go file an appeal using the sales locator. And Leanna's going to type in the address. Again, the process on paper, if you're going to do it by paper, is the same. There are a couple of realtors that are here that are filing for people on paper for free. Are they here?
Right here.
That's Sewanica Realty, right? Yeah. So there are a couple of seniors that said they want to file on paper. You'd be happy to help them, correct? Okay, do you see them up here? They'll be happy to help you. They're local realtors that are willing to volunteer their time. I met them at one of my... For free?
Yes.
Yeah, I met them at one of my sessions, and they're taking this course for the second time this week, which means they have a high tolerance of pain. Okay, so we put in the address 38 Sylvan, and that's Valley Stream. Okay, and we're going to click on, come down here. We're going to make sure that we have the right address. You have to do a capture, okay? The reason you have to do a capture is when the county did this for the first time, somebody stole all their information for free because they didn't have a capture. Now, the first thing I do, besides making sure that's the right house, is we come over here and we look what you're assessed at. Okay, and it's 557. You're not selling your house for 557, and you know that's a joke number. It's completely ineffective. And what's happening is people, if they didn't listen, they're not members of my Facebook group, and they're not listening to their friends who are members of my Facebook group, or if they listen to the town of Hempstead that comes out and lectures on this topic, which they have no business lecturing on, they see that 557 and they're trying to find comps less than that 557. And you're never finding comps less than 557, because while that assessment has stayed the same for 4 years, the values have gone up, okay? And that seems like that was even low 4 years ago. So what we do is we pull up the calculator, we go 557, and we times 1450. Again, you can use 1470 if you want to see the max number, but 1450 works for me. 807,560. That is the value of the county's home at ARC. Would you sell for that? Okay, you want more.
I mean, I would assume the sales tax is about 600 or
Okay, that's right. So you have a house at 575, assessed at 557, but the real number is 860. So guess what? That 557 means you're overassessed because you didn't know the secret of ARC, okay? And there's a whole group of people out there who are trying to keep that secret. They work for the county, they go out and give sessions, and they never tell you about multiplying your assessed value by 1450. Last year, now we know it's at least 1450, because last year the multiplier was 1388. It was a 0.70, or 0.00070 value. So they know, they froze again, They know prices went up again. They know it's gotta be at least $14.50. Now, just so you understand, okay, they don't want people to grieve, because not that it costs the county everything, because if you can grieve and you don't, you get a reduction, everybody's rates go up. But what happens is when 50% of the people in a district grieve and get reductions, the school tax rate goes up, and it goes up noticeably. And you're gonna see this all next year when the transitional year program assessment or exemption is gone. You're gonna see that from 5 years ago to next year, that school taxes are up 10 to 15 to 20% just on the rate, okay? And that's not because they voted on increases in the school districts, it's because we've been taking value out of the school district's budgets for years by successful grievances. The best thing you can do, you grieve because you have to protect yourself because the county's inaccurate, but 4 years ago, the county reassessed. It was supposed to be accurate and stay accurate. The first year, only 25% of the people got reductions because the rolls were accurate. The following year, about 45 to 50%. And then after that, Mr. Blakeman came in, 70 to 80% of the people who file grievances get reductions. That takes a lot of value out of your school district.
Correct. So you had 80, how many
About
percent?
80%, 75 to 80%.
And is there any difference between you filing and a private company filing for you?
Technically, there shouldn't be. In fact, you could file a better grievance on your own. But we, oddly, 2 years ago, they looked, and the firms that filed did a percentage-wise better. We don't know whether they got bigger reductions or not, but it just smacked of favoritism. I wrote a letter to the Assessment Review Commissioner, other people did as well, saying you can't possibly be giving these people who file mass grievances with no information in them better reductions than people who file individuals, and we're watching them. And if they do it this year, there'll almost certainly be a class action suit, because there's just no excuse. We got 30,000 people in my group who file, based on my instructions. They know the ratios, they file with comps, and so they know that their assessment is better than any of these law firms that don't use comps and ask the county to do all the work. Not right, okay? We're not a business. The county's not a business where it should be giving reductions to big companies and big law firms that file grievances. It should be giving, if anybody should be getting special attention, it should be the individual homeowners that do it themselves. Okay, now think about it. You use a firm that charges a contingent fee. Well, we don't have to mention their name. It's all, I saw 6 signs on my way here. Okay, I got 12 letters in the mail. We all know who does this, but they're only one of many. There's actually 950 companies that file grievances in Nassau County. At least 100 now follow my lead and do a flat rate. So, but when a firm, let's say a firm gets $1,000 reduction on your taxes, on your assessment, so it equals $1,000. Well, most of us have mortgages. So I got now about $80 a month that comes out of my mortgage. Okay, that's great. I don't notice it, but I know it's there. Okay? I don't notice it because my school tax rates have gone up 2% or 4%, and so I'm paying more money even though somebody got me a reduction. But then I have to pay the firm that got me that reduction $500 right up front. 50%. So, well, some are 50, some are 40, some are 30, but it's still, you gotta pay them up front. So here you're getting this small reduction you don't notice, and then you gotta pay a lump sum. And so it's really self-defeating. However, my son has a friend who lived up in Laurel Hollow, very nice area of Nassau County, and he bought his house and he filed a grievance. He was assessed at $7 million, and he didn't quite realize anything about the ratio, which a couple of years ago was 1250. And as a matter of course, they got him $1.5 million reduction on his assessment, and he owed the reduction was $106,000, and he owed them $53,000. So he could have got the same thing for $250, and Doug did it for free last year because he's actually a real friend. So, and then Doug came here and did 30 grievances for your folks. Okay, so we know you're assessed at 807. That's too high, right? So we're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna click find sales. We also want to make sure you have the right number of bathrooms, the right number of bedrooms, the size of the property is about right, so you wanna check that. Okay, so I know this only because I was on the Assessment Review Commission. ARC gives you a preference if you use the first 5 grievances, because it means you're not cherry picking. You're taking the first 5 grievances on arrow. Now, sometimes you can't do that. Like if there was $1 million sale up here, we wouldn't use it. But we are gonna use the first 5 because we know, and we know because I'm telling you, that the arrow system, the first 5 are the best. So we try to use those. But if we can't, we can't. If there was $1 million sale, we come down here, okay, and we look for something better. We try and stay on the first page, because then we can write, and I'm gonna show you in a minute, we can tell ARC, we're using these, the best 5. We're using first page, we're using the first 5, we're using 5 strong grievances. We wanna explain that we're not cherry picking. So we took the first 5, they're all in your school district. There's one in Lynbrook. Now the Lynbrook one's a little high, so let's get rid of the Lynbrook one, Leanna. And we're gonna come down to the next one, which is Valley Stream, and it's just about as good, okay? Let's just scroll up. Are they all Valley Stream? Yes, they're all Valley Stream. So what we're gonna write for you, we're gonna hit select check properties. We're now able to compare these. Now, one thing that I like to do is if you have a one-bedroom house, I like to tell ARC, one-bathroom house. I like to tell ARC it's a one-bathroom house. It's, a lot of families won't buy one-bathroom houses. So you need to point that out to ARC that you should not be compared to 2-bathroom houses, because it's a difference in who buys and how many people are gonna be interested. Okay, so we look at these houses, look how they're coming out, just like you said. Mostly in the 600s, a little higher, one a little lower. We come over here, we click continue. And what that shows,
Sorry, Jeff, I just
yeah,
have a question.
number of rooms doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the square footage, the size of the property, and the number of bathrooms. Okay, also if there's a basement. One thing that I find does change is sometimes you're in an older house and there's not a lot of older houses in the community, so it says 1923. You can click on change values and make that 1973 and you'll find more compliments, okay? So that's just a little trick. We'll show you on the next grievance. So you come over here, you see the 642. Now, if you didn't know the rule about 1450 and lowering the level of assessment, you're gonna say, I'm not gonna file my grievance, okay? Why should I file a grievance? I'm assessed less than what my sales are. So we come over here, we put in 642, okay, 000. 642,000, all right? There we go. And we're gonna go multiply by 0.006A, and that's 436, and that is what we're going to ask them for your assessed value. Actually, 436,560 because of the way they do it. But that's how you arrive at what your proper assessed value should be. You wanna find your comparables. If you can use the arrow comparables, you use the arrow comparables, because it does the adjustments for you. But if you can't find a lot of comparables on your street, you know what I usually do, or in your area? I usually say, sold properties on Dutch Broadway, I put it in Google. And then all the properties come up for the last 3 years. You wanna go back no more than 3 years. You wanna use 23 and 22. Occasionally I'll use 2021 if it's good. If it's your home, if you bought your house anytime between 2020 and today, you want to use your home. And I'll show you how to manually enter those on the next grievance. So we come over here, we know what our number is, 436,560. We hit continue to submit an appeal. We come in here, what type of property, 1, 2, or 3 family. We put in your name. You're one of those? Okay, well, we put in either one. Okay. You can just cut and paste. All right. Is that it? Cindy 1?
Cindy is my name.
Oh, Cindy, just put Cindy IP. You can always log back in by going up here, appeal file status change, and correct this if you need to. Okay. And you can correct your grievance up until right now, March 18th. The county executive extended the deadline from March 1st to March 18th. You have to file by March 18th at midnight. That is the absolute deadline. It shuts off. In past years, the extension has been longer than 2 weeks. But truthfully, since everything is done online, since snow doesn't affect this anymore, since COVID really doesn't affect this unless you're sick, they don't need a bigger extension. And I've always said, even though I'm in the business of doing this, and the more the extension is, the more money I make, but what I've told you, and the easiest way to start the county on the track back is to have a hard March 1st deadline. Because fully 1/3 to 1/2 of the people file their grievance in the extension. And so the less grievances we'd have filed would be if we had a hard 2-month deadline. It's plenty of time, it takes 15 minutes. And then that would have less of there'd be less grievances filed, so less of effect on your school taxes. Are you following your school tax rate? But this year they only extended 2 weeks, it's plenty.
Correct. So again, there are homes in this community, very large homes, and they're paying just $10,000 in taxes because they successfully grieved their assessment every year. I see a lot of young people here. In fact, this young man right here was recording this, and that's amazing. I was his mother's math tutor in high school. And it's impressive to see you recording this. You're recording valuable information. We have a lot of young people here.
I actually think they're going into competition with me next year. I know, Brian.
and so what I'm saying is this, okay? A lot of young people here. The homes that you live in, maybe your parents or your auntie or grandmother, that will be your home eventually one day. Do the right thing for your relatives and file this grievance. Share this information with people in the community. I want my community to file the most grievances. And so we have people who are willing to help us. And so if you know of a senior citizen in our community who can't do it alone, who can't do it herself, please connect her with our office and we will help her. So please go.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to come over here to full market value. ARC will not reduce your assessed value, that's what they're saying, below what you ask for. In the past they have, now they're giving you a warning. My guess is they probably will, because people don't understand it. Also, applicant estimates and requests that the assessment be reduced based on a full market value of. What does that even mean? Because they're not giving you the ratio. They're not giving you the level of assessment. So we're assuming what that means is at 0.001 or 0.0010 or 0.010 that they want to know what you think the market value would be. And if there was going to be an assessed value of based on the difference in the level of assessment, that 436 translates into a 664, which is your approximate valuation. That's why you write in here, whatever the reduction is, whatever your assessed value is, divided by times 0.0068. Okay, so we just bring it out to 100,000, and we assume they're going to figure out that they really mean 436. So we make sure the information's correct, and then we come to display. This is Part D. In some years, I've told you to fill out Part D. In this year, it's important that you fill out Part D. And you live on a home with double yellow line or anything in the street, that would cause a diminution of value. In Part D, you could put anything you think that causes to have an effect on your value. A flood zone, anything with the neighbors, bad, like if you lived on Terrace Avenue, there's high crime incidents on that street in Hempstead, you might want to put that down. But truthfully, ARC does a pretty good job of keeping track of things that affect your home. They should know if you're near the railroad, they'll know if you're near the waterfront, they know if you're near commercial property.
Say if your neighbor has an Airbnb and they have 30 people in the house every month.
You can point that out, that they wouldn't know about. So, what we want to write here is we want to let ARC know that we understand what the actual level of assessment is. Because otherwise, they might think you're just making up the numbers. We don't want to make up the numbers, we want to use real numbers. So what we write down is the correct level of assessment is 0.00068. Folks, you haven't done the calculation yourself, just trust me on this. Okay, maybe it's 0.00067, it's not going to make a huge difference in the long run. The goal is to get reductions in as many years in a row or out of 5 years that you can. Okay? I've always said that if you use a flat rate firm or you do it yourself and you win 3 out of 5 years, then you're ahead of the game. You obviously filing it on your own is the best. You don't pay anybody anything. All of the reduction is yours. That means you get your reduction in your mortgage, but you don't have to pay anybody. That's the best. So we want to let ARC know that we know the level of assessment is 0.0068, and then we write here. Okay, let's make this a period after 6.8, and then start a new sentence. The five first page comps. Now let's write here Valley Stream. The 5 first Valley Stream comps. You can just write VS if we don't have room. Okay? Arrow comps. Because what we did is we eliminated the Lindbrook one that was high. Okay, but now this is where you use a little bit of logic. You could say the 5 closest arrow comps, the 5 first arrow comps. If you've gone and used first and second page, but you've been shopping for your comps, write the first 5 very strong arrow comps. You want the appraiser who looks at this to understand that you know what a comparable is and that you know you've used good comparables. Okay?
And can an application result in a tax increase?
No, never. They can't raise you. Okay? You can only have a reduction. So what we want to do here is we indicate a fair market value of 642. Sometimes you'll see the phrase arm's length transaction. A comp is an arm's length transaction. It's what one person sells to a stranger. How many times have you take this? You've been here for this? 2, 3 times at least, right? Okay, you just like hearing my voice. Okay, well, somebody does. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to look at that and you want to say the fair market value or an arm's length transaction the property would sell for 642. And then after 642K, put a period. And then when the correct level of assessment applies, the assessed value becomes 436K. Please review and revise. That's it. That is the perfect grievance. I don't think I've ever had a grievance lose when I've used the first 5 comparables. Okay? Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I don't think I've ever had one. So let's...
Before, I know that we've had a lot of attention on you, so I just want to need to move the program along. I would like to let everyone know that some of the agencies and vendors we have in the next room are available. If you want, you could visit them. We are going to continue with this presentation, and we want to give a big round of applause to Jeff Gold and Rihanna. They can take this deep on this community and add to this community, and we thank them. Now, again, we're going to continue this. Just recall, just remember, okay, the level of assessment, use the first 5 comps.
If you can.
If you can. And also this language right here, very important.
Okay, you use that language, well, first of all, they're going to think I filed it for you. And the second thing is they're going to realize you understand why you're asking for this big honking reduction. Okay, you're asking for 200 points off, which would translate in Valley Stream to about $4,000. Guess what? They're not going to give it to you. But if they gave you half of that, you'd be happy. Oh, well, that's great. Okay. There you go. Hopefully we watch another video. But yeah, so we got you 15% last year. We've had people save 25% this year routinely. The county's really off. Wait, click, let's file this one so we can do the next one really quickly. Yes,
I have
sir.
a question right here in front.
Technically, ARC says they can't give reductions below 25%, but we had 2 people last year get more than the third. No, there is. There's about, you could probably do another 20 words. Yeah, so you know what, after that I put things like flood zone or just very cryptically. Yes, sir. That's the inverse, that's the multiplier. If you multiply by 0.0068, which is what I think the level of assessment will be, and you multiply by 1470, they're the same number. Okay? It's just math. All right? And I was never good at it. That's why I became a lawyer. Let's just get the next property.
Get someone else.
You got to log out.
Do we have an Elmont property? Is there an Elmont property?
Is
Yes,
this
can we do
Elmont?
Sheldon?
Where are
Can
you?
we do the screen work?
Another Valley Stream, it's fine.
Can we do Elmont, please?
Because
we're gonna, yeah.
All right, Leanne is gonna file yours privately. We're gonna take care of you. You here? Do we have the Elmont
Yeah,
one?
we have this guy right here, Sheldon.
Have you been
I just
back
wanna be
there
fair,
already?
I just wanna be fair.
What?
Sorry.
I'm not, you're not kicking us out in 10 minutes, Carrie.
I'll run back.
And they're kicking us out in 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, let's do another presentation. Yeah,
Okay.
you wanna go?
All right, Lee, let's just put this one in quick and he'll give it to you. We'll try and get it filed. Go ahead. Lee? Okay. Right here. We gotta log out and log back in.
We'll ask for more time.
You'll ask for more time?
And I appreciate you staying here today. And I
It's
appreciate
fine, I'm not going anywhere. Yes, sir.
I want to give a comment. I was here at 2:00 for a presentation on the same topic given by the Town of Hempstead Receiver of Taxes. And I want you, if you know anyone who has been to that, you will know that they understand the official understanding of how to appeal, which is, let's say the house was listed with market value of 500,000, which means 500 assessed value. You're told you should only look for houses, comparables, that are less than 500,000. And you're gonna have a hard time.
That doesn't work anymore.
You're gonna have a hard time finding those 500,000s. So you may think, well, that makes sense, you know? It's 500,000, I can't put up a $600,000 house as a comp. But when when you look at what's going on in reality, you should tell anyone who's been to those presentations by the governor that that's not actually true. And you should go in and do what Jeff is telling you, through the instructions, even though it seems like putting up a $620,000 house as a comp is, ridiculous.
And
it's what will get you your reduction.
And because last year they already used .0070 and they froze the rolls again, every single person in ARC and every single person in the Department of Assessment understands that the level of assessment is going to be at least .0070. So what's happening is you have these, look, the town of Hempstead and has no business in this area, just none. They should not be coming out and doing their publicity jaunts and telling you that you have to find $500,000 comps. And what happened is, I have 7 people in my group who go out occasionally and listen, and they verify exactly what you said. They got misinformation, and then when they confronted them and said, well, is ARC using a level of assessment of .0068 or 70? They say, we don't know. But they know they have to be at least that. And what's worse is the Department of Assessment is and you've had these people, they send out people and they tell you how to fill out the form, but not to understand the math behind it. You gotta understand the math to get that reduction and the best reduction.
So I have to ask, which workshop is better, this workshop or that workshop?
It's a little better.
Thank you very much.
Just a little. Okay, great. So we pulled up this woman's address, Valley Stream. This is your address. Let's quickly do this as best we can, Lee. Again, you got to do the capture. Okay, is that your home, ma'am? Looks like it needed a little bit of work when they took those photos. Okay, and they've got you at 498. I can do the 498 in my head. That's 525. That's 725,000. So we're looking for comps less than 725. We're gonna find them. Yep. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3. We're still gonna use that one because remember it's close. Okay? And we want to use the first 5 if we could use the first 5. Okay? Let's see how they adjust. Okay, the only one I'm really worried about is this one down here, and even that one adjusts, well, it adjusts to 832. But watch what's going to happen. You got 4 that are good. We're going to come out with a value of 658, which we know is less than 726, so you should get a reduction. We're going to continue to submit an appeal. What type of property? Do you want to get an email or a paper in the mail response from the county? Email's right there. Okay, that's you, Sandra, correct? Gonna come down, it's an individual. All right. We're gonna go to Part D. Oh, okay, 442. Did you do the math? Yeah. Okay, so that's 0.00067 of your, adjusted comparables. Okay, and we're gonna go to Part D, where we tell them proper level of assessment. See, she's already done this. The proper level of assessment is 0.0068. What's the was the fair market value? What was it, Lee? We use the first 5 arrow comps. We don't have to say first 5 page. We just have to say the first 5 arrow comps. Right over here. Just erase that because you're using the first 5. Now, look, if you want to go in and amend this to get rid of that 800 to try for even a lower number, you can. But what I'm telling you is if you use the first 5, ARC knows you're not shopping for comparables. They understand that you are using what they are giving you, and you're not fishing. You're not going street by street. You're not looking for different houses that are in the worst shape. You're looking. They're giving you the first 5. Okay. So if you want to, you can knock out that one, but that's up to you. I'm going to do it straight. And we wrote. First 5 arrow comps indicate a fair market value of 657. When the correct level of assessment is applied, the assessed value becomes 447. The correct level of assessment is 0.00068. To apply it, you multiply your adjusted comps by the level of assessment. You come over here, you certify that this is you, owner of record, submit application form. You'll get an email, you'll also get that number you write down. That's 3595285. That means you filed your grievance. If you want to go in and check that it's filed, you come up here to appeal file status, and it'll be there, showing that it's received. If you want to make amendments to this, you have up until March 18th. You just come and click on this, and the grievance will pop up. So if you want to take out that 800,000 and add a different one, you can. But
Just go back there and then
just
correct it.
correct it. You can just take it out. Okay? I might not correct it. I just take it out because the other ones would average lower, but it's not as accurate, in my opinion. Yes, sir.
Do you have to use 5 properties?
No. In fact, I filed one today. I used 14. Okay? You can use 1, 2, or 3 if you have it. The best is to use the first 5 comparables. What happens is sometimes we run into houses that have no comparables, in which case I want to use every house that is sold on that street to show that this is not a neighborhood that gets $1 million homes. It's, and then we do an average without adjusting them. But if you have 14 or 15 sales, ARC will be looking at these to see if they're good, and they'll, I tend to get reductions on those. We don't have to make it easy for you. Okay, so you can use as many as a good. I've told people in the past that if you only have one good one, you can use one good one. But the truth of the matter is, if you've got one good one and 20 bad ones, the one good one isn't really going to help. You probably failed your assessment. All right, so we have one more that Carrie asked that we could file an Elmont grievance, so we're going to do that. Is that gentleman here? Oh, good, there you are. All right, is that Leanne has entered you? Good. That doesn't help. Try again. All right, are there any questions quick while they try to figure this out? Does everybody sort of understand the math here? Okay, they're lying, the county is lying to you. Okay, and if you multiply by 0.0068 or you multiply by 1470, you get the same number. So, true.
The assessed value is they put on the form.
Yes.
If that's been frozen, why is the tax, going up?
Because your assessed value is frozen, but the school districts need more money every year, and the county needs more money every year, and the town needs more money every year, although they claim they don't, but this year they did raise. So you have increases going up, and what's happening is the tax rates go up and they become skewed because of all the people who are getting reductions every year. So, you vote on a 2% increase on your school budget, and even if you don't vote on that 2% increase, it's passing anyhow because of the austerity budgets. But what then happens is you go up 4 or 5% a year because you're losing 7% of the value in the school district. So everybody has to pay that lost value. Everything gets more expensive. Yes, sir?
All right, you said, you can get a reduction. What makes the difference between getting a 5% reduction and a 15% reduction?
My belief is following my instructions. Okay? The grievance firms file mass reductions. Many don't use comparables, and they don't tell ARC what the level of assessment is until much later. So they get a reduction. What we try to do is show good comparables, and we show ARC that we know what the level of assessment is. Even if I'm off by a point, it's not gonna make a difference. Okay, you wanna get good reductions every year. You got 15%. I've had clients get 25% because we show the appraisers that we understand. Now, if you're just buying your house, when you buy your house, you're really establishing, in most cases, the fair market value of that house. You've just bought it. So we're able to calculate what the fair market value is with a lot of precision. Are you following? So the first year you buy a house, you have an accurate fair market value, and then you know what the assessed value is, and you know what the level of assessment is roughly. You can come to get a really strong reduction your first year. I think you're actually in for a really good reduction. You'll let me know through the website. Lee, have you got the other one? Because they're going to kick us out. Okay, we're going to do one Elmont property.
Yes, one Elmont property.
The Elmont one we're working on? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So when you pull up the details of your home, if they're not correct,
You can fix them. Okay, now it depends what they are. The one I run into all the time is somebody had a mother-daughter permit, the mother-daughter permit expires, and the county in its infinite wisdom considers it a two-family home. Two-family homes typically sell for more than one-family homes, and there's a problem with that because you don't find comps for two-family homes. They're just very few and far between. So what you need to do is you need to call the Department of Assessment or the building department and have them change that. Other things I wouldn't worry about. For example, the number of bedrooms, don't worry about it. The number of bathrooms, the difference is so small, I wouldn't want the Department of Assessment walking through my house to look for it. Okay? If it's square footage and it's under a couple hundred feet, again, I'm not really that worried about it. I don't want somebody inside my house, unless you're sure that the visit inside your house will result in a reduction. I've actually been through this process. When I bought my house, it had a pool in the backyard, but it was an above-ground pool. There was a deck. Okay, so I knew it was an above-ground pool. They had me assessed for an in-ground pool. I called the Department of Assessment. They came out. They looked at it. They actually crawled under the deck to make sure I was right. Vicki Fridella, great county employee. She came out. She looked, and the savings saved me about $500 a year. It's $500 better in my pocket than the county's. If you fill in a pool, you want to tell the county, they'll come out and only look on the outside. If you don't have a garage anymore and they have you down as a garage, then they don't have to go inside your house to say you don't have a garage. You don't let them in your house, you let them see the outside. So it really depends. What's wrong on yours, do you think?
I had a dormer done, but I'm not sure if that was updated.
Okay, you know what? I sort of take the don't ask, don't tell. A dormer, if they put the dormer on your building, on your assessed value, it's going to increase your assessed value. If the Department of Assessment can't look at a photo of your house and can't determine you have a dormer, shame on them. You don't have to tell them.
It was permitted, it's not.
If it's permitted, they probably have the square footage, right? Okay, but I'm not inviting the county out to look at the dormer. The county really needs to update, and you know that. I mean, there are photos on the website 20 years old. All right, and that's a travesty, that they haven't done updates in 20 years on some homes. Because some of these homes are completely different. 3,000 square feet versus, 1,500 square feet.
Brief mention, again, although I don't support this system. I question it. We do need more accurate assessments. I have written letters to various authorities asking to change this system. So for the time being, we're learning how to cope, how to deal with the system, which you have to file agreements every year. But I understand that we do have a plan in the work, and we do have legislators advocating for a change in the system that would produce more accurate assessments. And it's something that I've discussed with Jeff that I'm going to reveal after the deadline, something that will help Nassau payers pay their fair share.
The only thing you can do now, believe it or not, is reassess for the third time. And that's not gonna go over well. But there's a state statute, your sister could work on this, that allows you to increase the assessment 20% over a 5-year period. So if your home is a $400,000 assessment, the county can only raise you to $480,000, 20% over 5 years. But we know that every home that started in 2020 is at 400 is worth more than 480 right now. So the most the county could have captured over that 5 years is 80 points on a $400,000 home, right? But Laura Curran froze in year 2. Year 1. Laura Curran froze in year 2. Bruce Blakeman froze in year 3. Bruce Blakeman, it was in Newsday, but I've reported it to my people first, froze in year 4. So of that 80 increase, the county, assuming it raises next year, can only capture 6%. That's all it can do, 6% or 20% over 5 years. So when they asked me, and they did ask, whether they could grieve the first, whether they could freeze the first year, I said, yes, you could grieve the first year because over the next 4 years, you could capture the maximum 20%. Okay, we would have been able to bring that $400,000 house to 480, whether we grieved the first year, whether we froze the first year. But I told them the second year freeze will be a problem. They didn't care. And then with respect to the third year freeze, my understanding is there were people in the Department of Assessment who said we can't freeze this third year, we'll never capture the value, but Bruce Blakeman himself made the decision to override. And the same thing in year 4. So we are never going, this unless we have a depressed market that brings it way down, and guess what, we're not going to, you're never going to have an accurate assessment. It just can't be done. So this one we can throw out, we spend $3 million, it's garbage. You're going to be grieving every year until there's a new assessment. And tell your friends, you're gonna grieve every year till there's a new reassessment. We will never have a successful grievance. And I can't tell you every county, but every place, there are places like Wantagh, Massapequa, and Levittown, which is incredibly ironic, that are going to see 8% increases in their school tax rates because of all the reductions. Because they have a huge number of people who grieve and they get big reductions every year. And the county can't defend against those. In fact, when they had the reassessment seminar, a guy from Wantagh said, why is my tax rates up 8% when I only voted for 2%? And then Chairman Nicolello said, I don't know. And I stood up and I said, you do know, or you should know. And I got yelled at, but that's okay, because I have 38,000 followers and he has 6. Okay? Yeah, it's true. I mean, Carrie, I love you, but if you wanted to speak to 38,000 people overnight, you got to come through me. Okay? Yeah, so it's true. I mean, they pretend, they stick their head in the sand, like the town of Hempstead people, and they lie to you, and they don't think you're going to find out. Do we have the great?
No one can get in their account.
No, you know why? Because they froze we're off the line now. They shut us down. That's why. Nobody can get on. The internet's down. No? Okay, nobody can get into their Elmont account. You've seen 2 people we've shown that we should be able to get reductions for. Just, if you don't understand the math, just remember the numbers, okay? Just multiply your assessed value by 1450 or 1470 and look for comps under that number. When you find your comps, then you can, your adjusted comps, you want to go by 0.00068, okay? And join the Facebook group, ask questions, I'll be able to answer them. Yes, ma'am.
Do we make appointments to see you at the
No, if you want my office to do it, we stopped taking grievances on Friday because we want to do an individual grievance for everybody. We want everybody to have a chance to review our work. So we stop on Friday. Even though the county goes to the 18th, you just go to Jeff Gold, flatrategrievances.com. There's cards out front. You know what? I should have one in my pocket. Here, is it okay if, yeah, here you go. You just go to, no, if you hire us by Friday, we'll do it. That's fine. By this Friday, yeah. Okay, you can go right there and you can hire us by Friday, we'll do it for you. Because you're a guest of Carrier, we'll do it for $200. Okay, Leanna will take that off. Any of your